For every good ending that you'll find in a game, there's usually an equal and opposite bad ending to find in another. Most times there's a complexity to the conclusion that are equal parts uplifting and sad. However, there can be times where the good ending, the so-called right ending, is actually pretty sad, if not downright terrible and depressing in retrospect. Let's take a look at 10 so-called good endings that gave this feeling. Major spoilers follow for each game, so be warned. AMNESIA: The Dark Descent. Initially, you pity Daniel. He's trapped in a strange castle with no memories of how he got there, and with a murderous shadow that's out to get him. Nothing can stop the shadow, and it becomes more commonplace as time goes on. However, it's revealed that Daniel accidentally unleashed the shadow upon discovering a strange orb during an archaeological dig. With no other options, he would eventually be contacted by Alexander, a mysterious being who says that he can help repel the creature. Doing this requires gathering vitae from people suffering from immense pain, and so Daniel helped Alexander to capture and torture people, whom the latter claimed to be criminals but were in fact not, using amnesia potion to ensure that they remained terrified throughout. Eventually, however, it's revealed that Alexander is harvesting the vitae to return to his own dimension using the orb. Daniel is betrayed in the process and seeks revenge, using the amnesia potion on himself to push past his guilt. Upon venturing into the inner reaches of the castle, where Alexander is conducting a ceremony to open a portal, the player can either let him continue and thus be killed by the shadow, or disrupt it, causing the shadow to only kill Alexander. The latter seems pretty good, but given Daniel's hand in the torture of innocence, it's hardly all sunshine and rainbows by the end. Another choice is to throw the head of Agrippa, a prisoner with knowledge of the orb, into the portal. Both Daniel and Alexander then die to the shadow, but the former won't descend into darkness because Agrippa will help him, or something. Even if you were kind and felt Daniel deserved to be saved, there's no guarantee that the shadow wouldn't still be pursuing him. Bastion. Bastion takes place on the back of the Calamity, which has ruptured the world and annihilated much of its population. The titular Bastion holds the key to fixing things, and upon retrieving enough shards, the kid learns that time can be rewound to before the Calamity. Your other option is to evacuate to somewhere else with the survivors. So why not try to prevent the terrible event from occurring by going back in time? Unfortunately, while that seems like the best possible outcome, it's revealed to be completely useless. During a New Game Plus playthrough, the narrator Rux seems to remember doing the same things as before. This means that the Calamity couldn't in fact be stopped, and the survivors have to go through the same turmoil yet again. Life is strange. Throughout the story, Max is doing everything in her power to ensure the survival of her best friend Chloe. However, her ability to rewind time is what's causing a giant cyclone to approach Arcadia Bay due to the building chaos effect. There are only two options available. You can take Chloe and evacuate from the town, leaving it to be destroyed. The two will be together, but everything, including Chloe's mum, who she cherishes, will be gone. The other option is to simply stop the chaos effect from ever happening and creating the cyclone in the first place. However, this can only be done by going back to the very beginning of the game and choosing not to rewind time and save Chloe from being shot by Nathan. The second option is generally regarded as the best ending. Several issues like Victoria's death, Mr. Jefferson's crimes and the damage caused by Nathan will all be resolved. But Chloe is dead, and Max has to live with that, even if it was the right thing to do for the rest of her life. Mass Effect 3. With the Destroy ending being considered somewhat canon going into the new Mass Effect, it's probably looked at as one of the better conclusions. The Reapers are destroyed, and the galaxy is free from a continuing cycle of extinction, right? Unfortunately, not only is Commander Shepard presumed dead, There were secret scene hints at them being alive, but the mass relay network has been destroyed, thus setting the universe back significantly. Every planet has suffered extensive damage in the war with the Reapers, and the Normandy's own crew is stranded on a strange planet with seemingly no way off. This also doesn't count the reason for the Reapers' existence, which was to harvest organic species at their peak before they had a chance to fall into ruin, mostly due to the creation of synthetic life forms which would slay their creators. Just because the Reapers are out of the picture doesn't mean that there aren't other threats to deal with, to say nothing of all of the existing problems between each race. NIER Replicant version 1.224744871139. In the remaster for NIER, a new route is presented where Kain becomes playable. She ventures into the forest, battles the Administrator twins, and slowly regains her memories of NIER. Following her reunion with Emil and Grimoire Weiss, she eventually defeats a reconstruction of the Shade Hook and overwhelms the twins, ushering in the rebirth of NIER. There are some problems, though. First off, NIER seems to have lost his memories and reverted to his pre-timeskip form. Also, while the group is sat within a giant flower that resembles a lunar tear, it does bear a resemblance to Drakengard 3's flower, which caused enormous strife. The twins also spoke of possible futures blending with the time we currently inhabit, and then hearing a song, which could be the power of songs. Again, not the best sign, given what the Queen Beast could do with it in Drakengard. Long story short, the future is unknown, and if this is a brand new timeline, the possible existence of the flower within it can't be good. Portal 2. Shell has had a rough time of it since the first Portal game, what with being stuck inside the Aperture Science facility and having to undergo dangerous tests at the behest of its AI GLaDOS. By the end of Portal 2, after surviving a showdown with another AI, Wheatley, which included fighting in space, Shell and GLaDOS are seemingly on good terms. GLaDOS does disable the part making her empathetic, but eventually decides to just expel Shell from the facility, sending the companion cube along for the ride. Which sounds nice and all, but our hero finds herself in a barren wasteland with no food, water, or supplies. Furthermore, even if the game is set a long time after the events of Half-Life 2, there were all kinds of terrible things in that setting. Who's to say that they're not around, or that something worse hasn't happened? Resistance 3. Following the events of Resistance 2, the Chimera are waging an all-out war against humanity and decimating everything in their path. You do eventually stop their plan to open a wormhole and freeze the entire planet. While the Earth's temperature returns to normal, however, about 90% of humanity has already been wiped out, and several facilities necessary for rebuilding civilization have been lost. The planet has also been heavily terraformed, which no doubt has altered its biosphere in various unrecoverable ways. In short, humanity won, but its chances to rebuild, much less regain its lost glory, are slim at best. The Legend of Heroes: Trails of Cold Steel 2. Following the conclusion of the Erebonia saga in Trails of Cold Steel 4, we know that things eventually turned out alright for Reen and friends. However, by the end of Trails of Cold Steel 2, so much went wrong. Yes, the Vermilion Apocalypse, aka the Cursed Testarossa, was stopped, and thus couldn't wreak havoc on the world. But this came at a price. Crow sacrificed himself during the battle and died in the arms of his friends. Osborn was shown to be alive and pulling a number of strings following his apparent death, allowing the Empire to further fall into his control. And on top of this, Reen was chosen to be the Ashen Chevalier, piloting Valimar in several conflicts for the Empire without having a chance to properly mourn his friend. 13 Sentinels, Aegis Rim. To say that a lot happens in 13 Sentinels Aegis Rim would be an understatement. Humanity and civilization as we know it has been eradicated several hundreds of thousands of years ago. Its only hope, Project Ark, used machines to nurture clones on various planets via a simulation, which is where most of the game takes place. However, since the simulation had its code altered, the same circumstances, where the 13 pilots would fight the kaiju and fail, thus resetting it, would occur numerous times. By the end, the pilots are finally free and begin the process of colonizing their new planet. But that doesn't change the fact that humanity is long gone. Also, hundreds of thousands of other ships for Project Ark have been sent to other planets, and for those that made it, roughly the same events are happening on them. So while this particular group is free, there are still countless others still suffering. To the Moon. To the Moon is about two doctors, Eva Rosalind and Neil Watts, working for Sigmund Corp, which specializes in creating artificial memories. Due to the issues that can cause, it's used on those who are passing on to help fulfill their long-time wishes. The duo visits Johnny, who has the wish of going to the moon. By venturing into his memories, it's discovered that he married his childhood sweetheart River, but that their marriage wasn't all that happy. Over time, we learn that Johnny's twin brother Joey died, and that their mother gave him beta blockers to help forget. As a result, Johnny would forget about River along with the promise they made. When they were reunited, the latter would become frustrated at this and eventually die without being able to communicate her wishes. Eventually, Watts and Rosalind changed Johnny's memories, making it so that Joey didn't die. Johnny would go to NASA and meet River there, fulfilling their promise to go to the moon together before eventually marrying and happily growing old together. It's all bittersweet though, since none of it actually happened in reality. So what are your thoughts on this? Go ahead and share them in the comments below. And if you like this video, please subscribe to the channel and enable all notifications by clicking the bell icon to get new video updates. We upload every day and would really appreciate your support. Thanks for watching.